All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into our trading recap and market analysis for Monday, August 21, 2023. Let's jump into it. Great day in the market today. SPY opened down, ran up, ran down, ran up. So kind of an up and down day in the markets, but overall a pretty positive day. If we look at on the day trading slides here, if we take a quick look at SPY, here's what happened at the open on the session. So we did gap down, and then we climbed back up, hit a nice high, dropped back down, and then rallied into the end of the day, except for the last 15 minutes where we had some pretty nice selling. But overall, pretty up and down and up and a little down day, but overall a very positive day with the markets running 30 points higher, about a 0.7% jump on the day. So overall decent day in the market. Let's take a look at some of the charts that we've got, and we'll start with the indexes. So we'll start with SPY here on the weekly and the daily. We jumped back inside this range. We hit yesterday, we were extended below the 3 ATR in the Bollinger Band. Today, we popped back up in there, coming off of these extreme ratings on not only MACD, RSI, outside the Bollinger Bands. So we were due for a bounce. The question is, how much of a bounce do we get? Is this just another pullback and then another leg higher like we've been seeing on SPY since late October? Up, down, really big up, and then a down. So we could have used some more pullbacks along the way, but we really came close on the weekly to the 21 EMA. And maybe it's a bounce and another leg higher. We'll see. Not ready to commit to anything. Still have some concerns about the economy and the market longer term into this winter and next year. Do we avoid a recession, a credit event, or any of those types of things? However, we trade what we see. And right now, a nice bounce day if we can break above 440 here. And if we look at this previous support line that we could not hang on to, does that become resistance? So do we run back up to 444 or so and then sell off? We'll see what happens, but that would be some bullish action. The Qs, same thing. We bounced pretty nicely today off the 3 ATR Bollinger Band back up to the 50, and that's where we ended the day. So we stopped at the 50 EMA on the daily. On the weekly, it's just a pullback. So just like SPY was just a pullback, Qs are pretty much the same. And then if we take a look at IWM and we look at the Russell, it did not really perform fantastic today. It was down a bit on the day, mainly due to some weakness in some financials and some other stocks. So we'll take a look at some of those and see what it looks like. It wasn't a terrible down day. It just was a sideways consolidation type of a day, inside day compared to yesterday. But MACD oversold and looking to reverse. I talked about this the other day, that I thought this might be a good play to put on a strangle, and so far that's the case. If we take a look at VIX today, VIX did drop again on the day. So VIX dropped yesterday. It was up a bit for the most part in the first several hours, and then it just gave up on the day back to 17. But it did break above 18 for a period yesterday and then briefly today, but couldn't hang on. So VIX starting to turn over a bit here. Nothing major, but it is at the top of the Bollinger Band, and it's right at its 200. We'll see if it can continue that way. If you look at the weekly chart here, VIX has definitely had a nice uptrend the last several weeks. So it looks good to move higher, which is not great for anything except premium selling, which is what we do. The dollar actually gave up some today. So it opened down, stayed down. It bounced around today, down slightly. MACD is starting to roll over. RSI is over bought. So the dollar, do we see any kind of a pullback coming? The weekly doesn't really indicate that that's the case. It still retains the top of this channel, but do we get any kind of relief on the dollar? The 21 still moving above the 50, and we're all heading and trying to break through this 200 MA as well on the dollar. So we keep an eye on the dollar. Meanwhile, TLT continues to just get the living tar beat out of it. Down another session here, and almost to this point that I was talking about before, that I'll watch for a double bottom right here around 91, 92. I don't know that I want to get long on TLT quite yet, but if your long-term horizon is a year or two, I think that's fine. I don't think the Fed is done. I don't know what's going to come out of them at Jackson Hole this week, but my concern would be the Fed's going to take a hawkish tone. I see no reason for rates to reverse and go higher. So all of these people with their TMFs and their TLTs and getting long it here and massive event coming, there's a massive loss coming for you so far. Doesn't mean it won't turn around, but it's been a terrible idea in this downtrend until we start to bottom out somewhere on TLT. Taking a look at the futures, Aussie dollar was just fractionally unchanged today, or didn't do much of anything, maybe a slight up day there, although it's showing down in after hours. British pound, pretty much flat, maybe a little bit of an up move. Euro, a little bit of an up move today. Oil, little bit of a down move during most of the session today. But sideways. So really nothing major on oil. And then gold just kind of hung in there sideways action today. Didn't do much of anything here. So that's what we're looking at on the futures. Let's take a look at some of the sectors that we have out there. XLK, best performing sector today by far was tech. Tech had a great day. XLK. MACD continues to rise, RSI rising, tech is getting a second wind in here, PSAR reversal, bullish sign today, and maybe it is just a pullback and a move higher. Some big name techs having some big moves today. XLY, the second best sector out there, rose pretty well, about 1.15%. You had the XLC communications, your Googles and your Metas rising a bit today. XLE just took a little bit of a breather and a break. Still like it here, especially on the weekly. It looks pretty good, but maybe it's getting a little tired and needs a little bit of a break. XLF still does not look good on the weekly or the daily. Nothing positive on the financials. I don't see. And if I want to add KRE in here, let's take a quick look at KRE and look at the regionals. After that gap down, they tried to recover a bit, selling back off on the weekly. MACD's running out of steam, RSI heading back down. And then, we have just been in a downtrend move on the daily. But we are back to this uptrend line. This is exactly where we closed on the day. We'll see what happens. This previous area of resistance might be a little bit of support. It's not exact, but you don't have to be exact on anything. Do we find some support in here on the regionals? Maybe. Other sectors that were up today was XBI. Okay, so your biotechs here bouncing off of the 3 ATR and the Bollinger Bands. XOP, your oils up slightly, and then XPH as well, moderately up. Nothing exciting there. So there's your sectors. Taking a look, Amazon up a little over 1% today. Still looks decent, trying to regain back above the 21 EMA on the daily, so it looks decent there. Apple had a nice little day today, up about 0.8%, coming off of the RSI oversold levels and well under the 3 ATR. So it's back inside the 3 ATR, still back inside the Bollinger Bands. We'll see if those can start to contract a little bit. Maybe not a bad spot for Apple to put on a strangle. The weekly is perfectly aligned for a strangle here. Microsoft, decent day, up 1.7%, bouncing off the Bollinger Band. Meta up 2.4% almost today, bouncing off the 3 ATR and the Bollinger Bands as RSI and MACD make some significant improvement. Google, which held up so well, just has 2 days of nothingness. I'm very surprised at Google not showing any more strength. But if we look at the weekly and the daily charts here, you've got selling in both of those and momentum coming out. So despite the chart hanging up, the underlying technical is not so great. NVIDIA, 8% update today, cranking out almost a $37 upside gain today as it rocketed back up through the 21 EMA, almost to the upper Bollinger Band, which is now starting to open. So MACD has been reversing and RSI has been climbing for the last week. And you're seeing the effects of that right now. So heading into earnings on Wednesday, NVIDIA, we'll keep an eye on what happens there. Tesla, a phenomenal day today, up 7% on Tesla. Again, RSI was oversold. It was down at the 3 ATR and Bollinger Band underneath both of those yesterday. So a logical point to come back in. The question is, how much is there in the gas tank to get Tesla moving? No pun intended, because the weekly just doesn't look that great. But we'll see what happens on CRM. So where did we end up in the account today? Let's take a quick look at the overall account. So overall on the account, Delta 749, relatively unchanged, stayed at 0.27. Still, my deltas are higher than I want them to be in this market, but it paid off today. So having a little more delta than I want on an up day certainly is great. But I really don't like it here. It's too much delta in my account. I need some things to come off, and I'm not going to close any losing positive delta trades to do that yet. I may just put on more hedges. Theta up to 773.27%. So Theta at one of its best readings in the last couple of weeks. We want to get that over 0.3 here. Netlick jumped almost $5,000 today, back to 282. We are back to where we were, nearly on the first day of the month. So relatively unchanged. If I look at the overall, we got to keep changing this on a daily basis. But if we update, we're down about 1% in Netlick, but we are up $5,547 on the month, and we had another $220 gain today. So BP dropped just a fraction today. Not much going on there. We did add some stuff in, but we're off and running on another decent looking week. We're up $220 on Monday, $5,500 on the month. Let's take a look at where the money came from today. So we had 2 trades close on the session today. The first one was a hedge. So again, we expect hedges to lose. We lost $180 on a 14-day hedge that we had. So we take a little bit of a loss there. $180, no big deal. And we were able to put on an Iron Condor 0 DTE today. I legged into it a bit. I started with the call side, added the put side after the initial little run up started to back off. I added the put side, so I just managed it as an Iron Condor. We took basically a 50% winner off of that, 2% on the capital that we used. We only had 10 contracts in there, but we made $400 on that. So more than paid for this and some other hedges. A nice $400 day just keeps the money rolling in the particular account. We're now up to almost $45,000 in P&L on the year. So on a $280,000 account, we have made roughly $45,000 on the year. So not too bad overall. Gives us about a 16% return in the month through the month of August. A couple bad months with some really bad 0 DTEs and a couple really Goldmageddon vol spikes that we had that gave us some losses back in March and April. But since then, we've been very consistent. Not a huge fan of 0 DTE, but when the opportunity is there to put some of these on, I have been taking advantage of it, just eking out a couple $1,000s here or there on 0 DTE, which gives us something to pat ourselves with here as the market had sold off. And we didn't have anything we had to close for a loss. We just wanted to make sure that we generate a little bit of cash flow while we wait for the big guns to come off. And that's our long-term 112 trades, our 90 DTE strangles, some other strangles on futures, 112s on futures. And then we also have some leap puts that are hanging out there. So we're waiting for those and one bear trap trade to come off. So overall, again, on the day, good day overall. Net lick jumped up almost $5,000 on the day, which is always good to see. Even though I don't really care as much about the net lick, I care more about my weekly realized gains. And we added 220 bucks today. All right, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Take care in the markets tomorrow. We'll see where we go. Do we get continuation to the upside, or was this just simply an oversold bounce day? Or are we going to get an oversold bounce couple days heading into Jackson Hole this week, when Chairman Powell is going to open his mouth and probably be a bit hawkish on the markets? We'll see what happens. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.